Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, mysterious voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I've found in my travels. I don't want to talk about a specific book that I read, but rather I want to do the usual wrap-up and TBR for March and for April, just to show you what is coming up and whatnot. I had a lot of interesting reads in March. I read some things that were on my TBR for this year, but some of them didn't quite land, but I still enjoyed much of what I read, including the short stories. I do think I had intended to finish A People's History of the United States in March, but that is quite a hefty book. 700 pages. It reads like a history book, of course, because it is a history book. So that's taking a little bit longer to finish, but I should get it done in April. And then, I do have a number of plans for April, including some more books that I want to get to, and some more goals for my short stories as well. But without further ado, let's talk about, my wrap-up and my TBR, and then we'll move on from there. So what did I read in March? In terms of books, I read Ink and Water by Lacey Davis, which I thought was a great autobiographical graphic novel, kind of similar to The Secret to Superhuman Strength by Alison Bechdel. A lot of similar ideas about body dysmorphia and associating being healthy with being skinny, which isn't always healthy, a healthy mindset to have, and really good art, very caricature-esque, and really good at sort of portraying body dysmorphia as kind of wonky and whatnot in the art there. I do think it might have been the best of the month in terms of what I've read. But there might be other contenders for that as well. But I think it's that. I also read Barada, which was a story set in the DC Comics universe. Largely boring. It focused on Dark Seed or Dark World, whatever. But it didn't really have anything that kept me hooked there. I also read 12 Years a Slave, which I thought was pretty sad. It kind of read like a history book too, more so than anything else, but I feel like it probably would have been very useful at the time that it was written to kind of amplify the abolitionist mindset and really just highlighting how awful slavery had been for the guy who wrote this. I also read The Blue Sword by Robin McKinley. There's a lot of good writing there, but I do think it's full of missed potential in terms of, having a story about a prophesized hero. They don't really bother to question the prophecy all that much. They don't really question that they were kidnapped at the beginning of the story. And, there isn't much of a challenge for them to defeat the evil big bad at the end of the story. So if you would have developed all of that, you might have ended up with a pretty solid story. And what you have is very basic and not at all fun for me to read, at least, but other people might disagree about that. I also read The Pervert, which was a story about a transgender individual. Very interesting kind of book there. Going Into Town, which was like a love letter to New York City. I did find that to be a fun graphic novel. And then Amelia Bedelia, which was by Peggy Parrish. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was my April 1st video for this year, so I've already kind of made it, but if you read the Amelia Bedelia series, it is children's literature, and it's always good to kind of explore the ideas that we're sending out to children. In terms of short stories, I read So What Are You Anyway, which was kind of a leftover from Black History Month. I thought it was pretty solid. Farewell Hank, about a sort of living funeral for somebody. I thought it was rather touching. The Snake, which I thought was a good short story. The Garden Party by Catherine Mansfield, which was a short story about race and class, or not race, but class, and wealth and things like that. I thought it was pretty solid. And then The Strange Career of Dr. Raju Gopalarajan, which was a pretty good short story. I thought it was quite funny, but also the things that it had to say were pretty well written as well. So I really hope, again, as I noted in the Short Story Tuesday video, that Rajesh Paramaswaran writes more. But that might not be the case. This might be the only thing he ever writes, which, that's a good thing to send out there. If that's the only thing you write, then, you're doing pretty solid there. And then I read a number of poems for my Poetry Thursday playlist. Be sure to check out that if you want more details on some pretty nifty poetry. But what do I intend to read for April? I have a number of things planned. I'm still in the process of reading for books, The People's History of the United States, which I'm really enjoying so far. It's making me quite angry, and I'm like, at certain times, I'm like, wait, isn't that happening right now? Which isn't an ideal reaction to have when you're reading a history book. Although maybe it is a good reaction, because then you can kind of fight that sort of thing if it's bad. Something to think about there. I want to read Alison Bechdel's Dykes to Watch Out For, which I picked up a short while ago from a bookstore and haven't read yet, so I want to get to that. State of Fear by Michael Crichton, which I picked up from my local library, as well as other library reads. I'm very much looking forward to getting back to Michael Crichton again. The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, which is a classic and a book that was on my 2026 TBR, so be on the lookout for that. And of course, the usual graphic novels that I pick up from my library too. I have a number of short stories planned, including one by Marta Salinas and another one by Edgar Allan Poe. It's always time to return to Poe. And then I do have a number of poems that I want to get to as well for my Poetry Thursday videos. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the wrap-up and TBR for March and April. As you can see, I read a lot of quality things and not so great things in March, and there's some pretty good books lined up for April that I hope to be, solid entries and whatnot. If you have any, recommendations or anything to say about what was on my list, let me know in the comments below. I would like to especially hear some recommendations if you got them, if you think there's something that might stand out to me. Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can find out about these books, or just my channel if you're interested in sharing that. Until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and April-related travels. Farewell.